Now, joining me now is former federal prosecutor Joseph Moreno. So, Joseph, from what we know, is there a chance that the ideas raised in that Oval Office discussion would rise to the level of a crime? And if so, what would they be?
Hey, Abby, good to be with you. Well, it's interesting because obviously what we heard, there were a mix of lawyers and non-lawyers at that meeting. And so right off the bat, you have a problem with privilege and keeping it confidential. You can have strategy sessions with lawyers. You can spitball ideas. You can talk about the past and developing a defense. What you can't do is potentially talk about future crimes, right? It cannot be a strategy session for doing wrong in the future. And having lawyers there does not protect it and make it privileged. So what it sounds like is the special counsel is digging into whether there were potential crimes effectively being plotted at that meeting. And whether you call it seditious conspiracy or something similar, it's basically, were there plans to instigate violence, to rile people up to the extent that the election results would not be accepted and that people would basically lead to violence in trying to stop Congress from signing off on the Electoral College vote.
So our sources are telling us that the special counsel has been asking witnesses about this meeting for months in the past and also, again, more recently. So what does that tell you about how investigators are looking at this and also, where they are even in the investigation?
Well, it tells me that they're probably close to the end of their investigation because this is such a touchy subject. They must realize they're going to get a lot of blowback and they have to tread carefully, which makes me think that they're close to the end because they wouldn't have done this closer to the beginning, knowing the blowback it would bring. And basically, again, what they're trying to say is, look, we'll give that group of people some leeway. They could have taken a few weeks after the election in good faith to look into whatever theories they thought they may have. But by the point of this meeting, it was so clear that, like Pat Cipollone said, where's the evidence? And if they're basically just throwing around ideas about how to be tough, knowing that there was no evidence to substantiate their arguments, that's a pretty damning thing. And I can see why the special counsel will want to dig into that.
Also at the heart of so much of this is Rudy Giuliani, former New York City mayor and an attorney for former President Donald Trump. He was one of the witnesses that was interviewed recently. And also today, a disciplinary committee is now recommending that he actually be disbarred for his 2020 election lies. They're saying, quote, he claimed massive election fraud, but had no evidence of it. By prosecuting that destructive case, Mr. Giuliani, a sworn officer of the court, forfeited his right to practice law. He should be disbarred. That recommendation is not final, but do you think it's fair?
Well, look, we lawyers, I mean, everyone likes to hate on lawyers until they need one, right? But the fact is, we are given a lot of leeway. And as officers of the court, we are given leave to make good faith mistakes. We can be wrong on the law. We can even be wrong on the facts. What we can't do is we can't make arguments that have no evidentiary support. And that's what basically the panel said, was that Rudy Giuliani, resting on his long reputation as a political figure, made these very, very ambitious claims that the Pennsylvania findings of the election in 2020 should be discarded. And basically, when it came down to it, he had no evidence to support those claims. And so I don't know if he will eventually be disbarred, but certainly there is significant evidence the panel found that what he did was not just wrong, it was so wrong that his license to practice law going forward should be revoked.
And not just wrong, but perhaps he knew at the time because he was told by people around him that it was wrong as well. Well, Joseph Moreno, thank you so much for all of that.
Thanks, Abby.
And tonight on the campaign trail, the war of words escalates between Donald Trump and his closest 2020